Here's more wrestling news for October 4th, 2022, and we're starting off with WWE, and before this week's Raw, the company held their hour-long main event tapings, which featured some notable names on the program. On WWE Main Event, 3 NXT superstars made their main roster debut, with Fallon Henry, Josh Briggs, and Brooke Jensen all competing. Henley faced off against Dana Brooke, while Briggs and Jensen took on the team of R-Truth and Shelton Benjamin. Because of spoilers, we won't name who won the matches, but this is a big step for all 3 NXT superstars. It's even possible the WWE are testing the waters for a more permanent main roster run for Henley, Briggs, and Jensen, the latter 2 being former NXT UK Tag Team Champions, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for more from these 3 on the main roster. At Extreme Rules this Saturday, Daniel Cormier will make his WWE debut as the special guest referee for the Seth Rollins vs. Matt Riddle Fight Pit match. Cormier isn't the first UFC guy to debut this way, as Ken Shamrock joined WWE as a guest referee in 1997, and like Ken, DC may be looking at an in-ring career himself. According to sources, one idea being thrown around backstage is for Cormier to offer an open challenge with the idea that he wants to face the best that WWE has got. This challenge would be answered by none other than Brock Lesnar, setting up a match between the 2 ex-UFC fighters, likely at Crown Jewel next month. It was back in 2018 that Lesnar and Cormier had an altercation inside a UFC cage, resulting in the 2 shoving each other, something that would no doubt come up in this feud. It has been reported in the past that US champion Bobby Lashley was the planned opponent for Brock at Crown Jewel, but that could have easily changed now that WWE has Cormier on board. In theory, there's nothing to stop a Lesnar-Cormier-Lashley triple threat, as all 3 have MMA fighting experience that WWE could use to tell a story. Lesnar's time in the world title picture is seemingly done for the time being, as WWE promoted SummerSlam 2022 as the final collision between himself and Roman Reigns, but a match with Cormier is certainly a huge match worthy of WWE's next Saudi event. Ever since Triple H took over as WWE's head of talent, WWE has brought back several ex-superstars, including Karrion Kross, Dakota Kai, Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, and others. Oney Lorcan had quite the run in Triple H's NXT until he was cut from the company, but he, too, may be on his way back to the company. According to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, Lorcan has been at the WWE Performance Center this week, serving as a guest coach for the company, but how long he'll be there is unclear. Lorcan's coaching role also marks the first time he's been in the ring since July of last year, when he took to social media to confirm that he was taking a break from wrestling. After WWE confirmed that NXT 2.0 was being changed to NXT, Lorcan tweeted the new gold logo, and between this tweet and his recent role, he may be the latest ex-superstar to make a return. At WrestleMania 38, Cody Rhodes returned to WWE and has enjoyed some impressive booking so far. Despite his current injury, many assume Rhodes will be a future WWE World Champion, with many fans even suggesting that the American Nightmare will dethrone Roman Reigns. With Cody claiming he returned to become World Champion and fulfill a promise to his father, a title win looks likely, but that hasn't always been the plan. Fightful Select reports that when Cody returned, Vince McMahon had no concrete plans for Rhodes to become either WWE or Undisputed Champion, though many in the company assumed it would happen. In fact, not only did McMahon not have any plans for Cody to dethrone Reigns, but he had no plans for anyone to topple the Tribal Chief, with a report saying that he was all on board with Reigns. Now McMahon is retired and Cody is injured, and while it may just be a matter of time before he is World Champion, WWE's former CEO never put those plans in stone. Speaking of injured talent, Big E is continuing to recover from the broken neck he suffered in March, but is keeping busy outside of the ring. In fact, Big E is healing so well that he is doing other work for WWE, as he has been serving as a guest scout for WWE's Next in Line program. Sitting down with the Cheap Heat podcast, Big E shared his experience as a scout, which is a brand new role for him. "I've never been on this side. I never really had an interest. I always thought I was the young guy on the roster shaking my hips, but it's cool. They put a little respect on my name. It's really cool to be behind the scenes. We'll have a break for lunch, and we're having these conversations about who we liked and what we liked about certain talent, and it's really interesting." Like the talent signed to the NIL program, Big E wasn't a wrestler before signing with WWE, but instead a powerlifter and had dreams of being a football star. Big E is a testament to how a non-wrestling athlete can become a huge star in WWE, and we can only hope it won't be long before we see him gyrating in the ring again. Over to Raw as Bobby Lashley defended his US title last night against Mustafa Ali, but his next title defense isn't far away. After this match, Lashley was laid out by Seth Rollins in a curb stomp, and backstage, the Almighty promised to destroy the Visionary next week, saying he'll do it with the title on the line. It's been 7 years since Seth's one and only US title reign, and 3 years since he last held any gold, but Rollins could finally end that drought in just a few days' time. In 2000, the then-rookie Kurt Angle was paired with Bob Backlund on screen, but the alliance between the two was very short-lived. Despite both being accomplished amateur wrestlers, their pairing ended mere weeks after starting, and on his Kurt Angle show, the Olympian explained how Bob could be difficult to work with. Bob was supposed to put the crippler crossface on Chris Benoit while he was sitting, and Bob didn't want to do it because he wasn't standing up. I looked back at the writer like, holy shit. Despite the idea of a stood-up crossface making no sense, Bob refused to sit down and do the move, and Kurt added that Backlund would often forget his lines. I think that was the deciding factor. When Bob went and did that, they just went, we've had enough of Bob Backlund, we're gonna move on. Backlund was written off of TV when Kurt attacked him after learning that Bob had said he should defend both the Intercontinental and European titles at WrestleMania 2000, and thankfully, Kurt would go on to have an incredible career without the bizarre Backlund. On AEW Dynamite, Bandido impressed people with his match against ROH World Champion Chris Jericho, despite coming up short against the Wizard. Bandido was reportedly offered a contract immediately after the match, which comes as seriously bad news for WWE. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez revealed that WWE had been watching the match, and before Jericho even got the win, WWE had asked if they could get Bandido's number. It hasn't been confirmed yet if Bandido has accepted the offer by Tony Khan, but it certainly looks likely, though the former ROH World Champion will have to consider all options. It's been 2 years since Miro debuted for AEW following his WWE release, and has had somewhat of a mixed run in the company. Despite a reign as TNT champion, Miro hasn't received many notable feuds and has even teased the prospect of leaving, liking a tweet saying he had it better in WWE. Miro hasn't left for WWE at this time, but this week he will appear for a much different show. In the pilot for new CBS drama East New York, Miro will play a character named Nikolai Dushkin, who has appeared in the trailers for the show. We don't know if this will be a recurring role for the Redeemer of AEW or just a one-off, but either way, the former TNT champion is stretching his acting muscles with his new role. In 2015, WWE launched their Women's Revolution, putting more focus on women's wrestling and ending the Divas era. The Divas era has faced criticism from fans for years as a time when the focus was on how a wrestler looked rather than her in-ring skill, but that may not be a bad thing. Speaking to Alex's World, SoCal Val hit out at the negative stigma that being a diva now has, saying that it is taking away the choice for women today. I have no idea why anyone thought that diva was a negative term. A diva to me was always a very empowering term. With all due respect to AJ Lee and the others who are just casually dressed and are not super sparkly and glamorous, those aren't my type of girls. I wanted to be a Tori Wilson or a Sunny. I wanted to do the modeling shoots. SoCal Val never worked for WWE and therefore was never an official diva of the company, but worked for years as a knockout in Impact Wrestling. Nowadays, it'd be strange for a commentator to focus on a superstar's looks during a match, which was almost exclusively the case in the Divas era, but SoCal Val is nostalgic for this bygone era of wrestling. And we're ending today with Raw, as the action didn't stop after the show went off the air. During the show, Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle had a face-off, but did not trade blows due to a no-contact clause that was in effect. Grabbing a microphone after the show, Rollins said that WWE official Jack Tunney Jr., a hilarious nod to the former WWF on-screen president, informed him that the clause has expired. Riddle and Rollins wasted no time brawling, with both men sharing offense both in and out of the ring. It's believed that this Saturday's Fight Pit match will mark the end of their feud, and we'll have to see who stands tall in the cage, with Daniel Cormier officiating the bout. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.